Now we'd like to give you some ideas about how we figure out how old your old stuff is. Today we'll focus on china and pottery, and we'll show you the things that we look for on the back marks that give us an indication of age.
Okay, the first piece we have here is a piece of Roseville pottery, which is very popular arts and crafts movement. It's one of the, they have very many flower designs. This is a rose example. And here we have on the back the sign here, which is a raised mark. It says Roseville, USA. Then it would have the number, which tells you actually the pattern, and it'll be in the catalog, and you can look that piece up exactly. A little tip for you, that a lot of this stuff is being reproduced, and it won't say USA. It'll just say the Roseville and then the other numbers, but it won't have USA on it, okay? To show you one more item of that, there's another little vase here. There's this the same pattern actually, but there you go again. There's the Roseville, USA, and this one's number 978.
Do you know how old these items are?
Well, they're made from Zanesville, Ohio, probably getting on for 100 years ago, I say, 80 to 100, something like that.
I'm not sure I'd agree. But what else? Can you tell us about that?
This one here?
This is interesting.
This is a French piece of pottery with a nice glaze on it. It's a flower frog. Just only showing you this one is, but on here it's a signed piece, and that's meaning that when a piece is signed, the actual artist that did the pattern and the glaze signed it on the bottom. So if you look for a piece that's signed, it's always a big advantage.
I'm going to show you about china. This happens to be the area that I feel most comfortable with. Let's start with china that is 19th century or earlier. Sometimes it's hard to detect, but I have a really good example of a flow blue plate. Flow blue refers to china that has, it actually looks like the blue in the transfer print is flown or bled onto the plate. And this is a great back mark, and it's a nice big one too. I was able to look this up and identify that this is an old Minton's mark. Right now it just says M & Company. Newer Minton's work said Minton's. The name of the pattern is ribbon wreath. That's right in the center. And the interesting thing about this plate is it uses one of the first diamond-shaped registry marks. It was used between 1842 and 1862. So we immediately know that this plate dates to that time period. Then inside this diamond registry mark, we can identify the month in this little quadrant where the plate was made. I can't read it, it's an M or a W, so it's either February or June. The 12th is the date that it was made. The P would be the year that it was made, and in this case that's 1851. The other identifying marks on here is Minton's always had a cipher, this little 3 dots here. That's the cipher that indicates 1851, as well as this is probably the artist mark. A250 is probably the artist that hand painted this plate. So this is really a wonderful example of the diamond-shaped registry mark. To further illustrate the mark, this is a piece of Royal Albert. A lot of people enjoy and collect Royal Albert, very good manufacturer of china. English, Royal Albert, the name of the company, bone china, that's what it's made of, and then the word England. So what does that tell us, honey?
Before 1920.
Before 1920. So this looks pretty new for a piece that it has that kind of age. And the name of the pattern is Moss Rose. Now I would say that not 100%, but certainly 80 to 90% of the time, if it just says the country name, it's going to be follow the rules that I just gave you.
I have another tip on this one.
Oh, do you?
You must have heard of high tea and low tea, the difference between high tea and low tea. Well, low tea is poured like this, okay? And a high tea is poured like this.
And we needed to know that.
All right, next one.
Well, and the final thing I wanted to show is I know a lot of you guys collect Franciscan, and Desert Rose and Apple are very, very popular. Now, both of these plates are the same pattern. Can you turn it over, honey, so that they can see the pattern?
Oh, right.
See, it's the same pattern, but they're made at distinctly different times. And the way that we tell that, again, it's the back mark. That's the wonderful thing about china. China tells us a lot. This particular back mark, it's a circular Franciscan mark. It says hand decorated Franciscan ware made in California, USA. So first of all, we know it's after 1920, but we were able to identify, they used this mark around 1939 to 1947. This same mark, it's a Franciscan mark, but as you look at it, it says an authentic hand-decorated classic Franciscan, or by Franciscan, excuse me, made in Staffordshire, England. That means that this mark was actually used in the 70s.
They bought the company out.
Gladdy McBean was the original company that started the Franciscan line. Gladdy McBean is an Los Angeles-based company. And they ended up, who was it who bought the Franciscan line? Royal Dalton, we think,
right,
if I'm correct. Yeah. They bought it in the 70s, and that's why it started to be produced in England. Same pattern, but different values based on the age. This one, of course, is worth more, and this one is worth not as much, although still very collectible and usable today.
Another couple of tips on this one here is when you're looking for plates and things, you'll see that it's actually been used. So it has knife marks on there, which people don't like that if they're just a collector. And the other thing on this one here is it does have a cross that's scratched into the back. So this was probably a second. It wasn't, I can't see why it was a second, but it probably was. That's why it's got the cross scratched in the back.
Very
so
good.
You look for things like that.
Anyway, so hopefully that helps you take a look at the china in your cupboard and the pottery in your cupboard and give you an idea about the age of it. Thanks.